school holds a sports day. One of the items on the program was an obstacle race. Okay. Teams of 10 learners and parents participated in this race. That's really important. There's 10 people. The table below shows the time taken in minutes by each member of the particular team to complete the race. If we look at that table, the first thing we always want to check with data handling is that our questions are going from shortest to highest, or smallest to lowest, smallest to biggest, guys. Okay, so that's called ascending order. So we want to make sure they're in an ordered array, that they're going from smallest to biggest. And in this case, is that happening? Yes, it is. Half the work is done for me. Okay. How long in minutes did it take for the fastest member of the team to complete this race? This is really important that you're reading this carefully. Okay, so it says it shows the time taken to complete the race. Be careful. Shows the time taken in minutes to complete the race. So these are one of these questions that are first at the gate, one of those ones to trick you. Be careful. How did it take for the fastest member to complete the race? Well, if you're going the fastest, it means you're taking the least amount of time. And if you're taking the least amount of time, then you would need to take 4 minutes. So 1.1, 4 minutes. All right, be careful. Okay, sometimes people get excited and they're like, oh, it must be the person who won, and the person who won gets the most, and so be careful. All right, it's the person who took the least amount of time. Okay, so the person who came first, the fastest person, 4 minutes. So 1.1, 4 minutes. All right. Determine the mean time taken by this team. Now, guys, this is where you can really start already using your calculator. So you could take your calculator, all right? You could do your shift stats, all right? So your shift 1, put in the stats, okay? Input your data, so you're going to input your variables, 4, 12, 13, and you could get the mean that way. Or, all right, you could do what you've been doing since you were in grade 7 and calculate the mean. How do you calculate the mean? You add up all these figures. So 4 plus 12 plus 13 plus 16 plus. That gives you 169 over 10. And 169 divided by 10 gives you 16,9 minutes. Okay. So again, if you want to spend that extra few minutes, or that 1 extra minute that you've got, putting it in the calculator already, that's fine. All right. Really nice and easy. Okay. We put it into the calculator. All right. And we do it that way. Okay. If you're not sure on how to put it into the calculator, like I said, during Mr. Peter, your normal grade 11 teacher, he would have done some really great lessons on how to calculate your mean and to put stats into your calculator. So please go make sure that you go and spend some time going and looking at those videos. You'll find them. Mr. Hugo's put the link to YouTube, all right? If you can't find them in this year's videos, you'll probably definitely find them in last year's videos. So make sure you go look it up, all right? And make sure that you check on how to use your calculator properly in order to find your mean and all the different calculations that you would need. Okay, so carrying on from there, all right. We're now asked to calculate the standard deviation for the data. So to calculate the standard deviation for the data, yes, we have the formula that we would get, and they give us the formula sheet, and it's on the formula sheet. But you guys know that it's for 1 mark, and so you can use your calculator. And so to calculate the standard deviation, what are you going to do? You're going to go and you're going to put the information on your calculator. So you would need to first go and you would need to put your data in, hey? So you would go to mode, stats, all right? You would press 1 and you would enter all of your variables. So you've got there 4, 12, 13, and you enter all your information. All right. Once that's done, okay, you've stored it. So you press AC. Okay. All right, I'm just getting mine done on my calculator here that's on my desk, and Mr. Hugo is doing it for us as well on his calculator at the same time. All right. Okay. We're then going to press Shift 1 and the data handling menu comes up. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 seconds. If somebody can just give me a thumbs up once they've got those figures into their calculator, even if it's just on your screen, or if you can use the emojis so that I know that I'm not going too fast for you and you've got the data actually on the calculator. All right, I've got lots of practice putting mine on the calculator, so I don't want to rush ahead and then I'm way ahead of you guys. So you tell me when you're ready. Okay. All right. Just give me a thumbs up, guys, or let me know in the chat once you've got your data into you and your variables. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you so much, grade 11s. Awesome. Okay, so you've got your figures in. All right, now we need to go and we need to work out what we need. Okay, so we're going to press our Shift 1 and our data handling menu comes up. Okay, we need number 4. So we need the menu that says VAR. All right, so we do VAR. Okay, and what do we need from that? We need the standard deviation. Now, what does that standard deviation button look like? It looks like this. It's like that weirdo Greek style letter. Okay, that does like this kind of vibe, like that vibey thing. All right, and it's got an X next to it. Okay. All right. We put that into our calculator. Okay, so it's number 3 that we press there. All right. And when we press that on our calculator, it tells us this is the standard deviation. So you can write that weirder little Greeky letter in the X, okay? Or you can just write standard deviation is equal to 5,79. Okay. Check me. Did you get the same as me? Did you get 5,79? All right. Make sure we good. Thumbs ups maybe, or like I see people nodding, so I'm guessing that's cool. We good? All right. Next question. Okay, next question says, how many members of the team completed the race outside? And here's the part where it's important. Outside 2 standard deviations of the mean. Be careful. Normally they say like outside 1 standard deviation of the mean. Okay. This question says outside 2 standard deviations of the mean. Okay. So watch them. Be careful what they're saying to you. They can do however many standard deviations of the mean. They can do 3, they can do 4, they can do 7, they can do 10, they can do however many they want. In this case, they want to know how many 2 standard deviations of the mean. So a nice way to set this up for yourself is as follows. Again, depends on you, depends on the way you've learned it, depends on the way your teachers taught it. All right. I say to you, I've had many teachers over the years. This is the best way that a teacher taught it to me. Okay. This is the way you're going to find it in your memo as well. All right. So 1.4. So first of all, I'm reading the question. It wants 2 standard deviations outside of the mean. Hey. Okay. So for me, if it's 2 standard deviations outside of the mean, I open up my brackets. First of all, the mean is 16,9 is the mean. So 16,9. All right. And the first thing I always do is I say, so I open up brackets and I say 16,9 minus 2 standard deviations, 5,79. Close that little bracket. Okay. I put a semicolon. All right. So that's going to be my lower one. And then I'm going to have my mean, 16,9 plus 2 standard deviations, 5,79. Close my brackets. Okay. I'm hoping that makes sense. If there's someone that wants me to explain, I'm just going to explain it once more. I've taken my mean. I've subtracted 2 standard deviations. I've taken my mean. I've added 2 standard deviations. And then our favorite symbol in a paper 2. How many times are you going to write this in your paper 2? Therefore, we all know it's coming. Therefore, 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 therefore. Okay, so therefore, right, go calculate it on your calculator. 16,9 minus, open brackets, 2 times 5,79, close brackets, gives me 5,32, semicolon. On my calculator, 16,9 plus, open brackets, 2 times 5,79, close brackets, equals 28,48. All right. However, does that answer the question? That's just my workings. All right, a reminder, that's just my workings. Okay, so far, marks for this question, it's 3 marks. I would have got 1 mark for calculating 2 standard deviations below, 1 mark for calculating 2 standard deviations above. Let's go check what the question asked me to do. The question said, how many members of the team completed the race outside of 2 standard deviations of the mean? Okay, so how many members of the team completed this race outside of 2 standard deviations of the mean? I'm just going to go write my answer here that I had just now on my other page. So I had 5,32, and it was 28,48. All right. So how many team members, okay, completed this race outside of, and let's start with the lower one. So we start saying with the lower one, 5,32. How many team members are below 5,32, guys? If I'm looking at that, my lowest number was 4. And then I went straight to 12. So is there anything below the standard deviation there? Yes, there is. There's 1 there. Hey? So far, I've got 1. My highest standard deviation there was 28,48. All right. The person who took the longest to complete this race was 25. So my highest deviation is going to be up here. All right. So nobody was outside of that in the highest range. Therefore, what does that mean? So what does that actually mean for me? It means that, therefore, 1 member of the team completed the race outside of 2 standard deviations of the mean. Okay. All right. So I got 1 person that completed the race outside of 2 standard deviations of the mean. If we'd done 1 standard deviation of the mean, perhaps we'd gotten a whole lot more people, but we had to do 2 standard deviations of the mean. What happens in grade 11 if you had gotten this part wrong? So let's just do a what happens in situation, okay? What happens here if you had gone wrong here and you got in different figures? Okay, as long as this still applied to what you had done above, you would have got method marks, guys. So you would have still got some method marks here. Okay, because this final mark is what's known as a method mark. So 3 marks altogether. Okay, that final mark is a method mark based on what you calculated. Applying it to the question, it's a method mark. All right. Okay. So stats questions, really nice place where you guys can get some nice marks here. Okay. All right. 1.5. 1.5. Let's have a look at 1.5. All right. 1.5 says, so this is our, I would call this probably a level, like we looked at last week, the levels of questions, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. I would probably call this a level 3 bordering into a level 4 type question. Okay, so level 3 bordering into level 4. Let's have a look at what it says. It says, it took another team a total time of X plus 5 minutes to complete the race. Okay, so our team had 10 people, all right? And that's how long it took us. It took another team X plus 5 minutes to complete the race. Calculate the value of X if the overall mean of the two teams was 18 minutes, all right? We know what our overall time was. We calculated it earlier on. Okay, so when we added up all of our times, okay, it took us, when we added up, it took us, okay, we did it when we calculated the mean just now. All right, when we add up all our times, we get this, 169. They're saying this other team, when they add up all of their means, they get X plus 5. Or when they add up all their times, they get X plus 5. Okay? And when we add those two together and we average them out to get the mean for the two teams, it gives you 18 minutes. So they're throwing in a little bit of algebra here, which is why I said to you it's level 3 bordering on level 4, not quite a level 4 question, because it is something that you can tackle yourselves. So we've got 169 was the total time of our team, plus the total time of their team was X plus 5, over. We need to do the mean for both teams, okay? When I calculate the mean, I always divide it by the total number of units, or the total number of people, or the total number of whatever we've got here. Our team had 10 people, so the other team will also have 10 people. 10 plus 10, I'm going to write it here just in case. So when you're going and you read during this and you're like, oh, where did she get this figure of 20? 10 plus 10 will give us 20. And all together, that gives us the mean of 18. Okay. All right. So we've got 169 plus X plus 5. I'm just going to go from here. Over 20 equals 18. Okay. All right, go solve that, guys. Go solve that. I'm going to go solve it my way. You can solve it whatever way you like. 20 times 18 will give me, what, 360. Right, I'm going to take that over. Equals, well, let me break out my calculator here. Thought my brain could do it with no calculator, but I'm going to give in. Okay, minus 169, 191. X is going to give me 186. Okay. All right. So a little bit of application there. A little bit of understanding what the mean means. Thanks, Mbali. Thank you so much for working with me. At least I know some people are working with me today. I can see people on camera, some people, but it's also good to see you guys are working along with me. So thank you. Okay. All right. So that's that first stats question done. Guys, gain yourself some confidence in the exam. Okay, I know some people like to jump around and do the questions in a different order. All right, it's good to start with something that's going to get confidence. So start with your stats. Get stats over and done with. Get your confidence up. Do these questions first. That's going to help as well. Going to help you feel more confident, especially when we get into the geometry section. All right. Okay. Hopefully you've got that. Hopefully you have that. If at any time you want to go back, take a screenshot of my workings, please just let me know. We can always go back at the end. I'll leave a few minutes for screenshots as well, so we can always go back and also take any screenshots you want of the working too. Okay, let's have a look at question 2. Oof, question 2 in Ojive, yay. So a survey was conducted of the ages of players at a school tournament, okay, at a soccer tournament, sorry. The results are shown in the cumulative frequency graph below. Mr. Hugo has raised his hand. Mr. Hugo?
Teacher Kirsty, sorry, just a quick note. I'm going to share a screenshot in the chat quickly, just for students before we move on from question 1. If anybody is not sure how to use the calculator or how to put the stats in or how to get the standard deviation or whatever using the calculators, I actually just asked the bot as if I didn't know, like, guys, or bot, I don't know how to, and then the bot gave me steps on how to put the information into
Awesome.
my calculator. So this bot exactly knows how your calculator, either Sharp or Casio or whatever, also works. So guys, if you're unsure about anything in stats and the calculator is your problem, then just ask the bot there as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hugo. That's so super helpful. I think especially for those people who aren't working with Casio calculators, and when we do it in class and we do it in workshops and even at school sometimes, I think everybody just focuses on, oh, everyone's got a Casio, but not everyone has a Casio calculator. So that's really helpful. Thanks, Mr. Hugo. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Sorry
Okay.
for the bother.
No, it's fine. All right, guys. So we're doing the ogive next. Okay. The results are shown in the cumulative frequency ogive below. Okay. 2.1.1 says to me, all right, how many players took part in the soccer tournament? That's what I was saying to you guys. There's some really easy marks here. So get these easy marks. Nice and easy. How many took place in this soccer tournament? It's at the top here. You guys should all be telling me in the chat, but it's okay. I'll write it down for you guys. It's going to be 50 here. 50 players. Nice and easy. Such a nice, simple question. Straight out the gate. Level 1, done. All right. Moving back. Determine the number of players between 24 and 31 years old. All right, so determine the number of players between 24 and 31 years old. All right, so if we're looking at that, we're looking for the players that are 24 and 31. Okay, so what are you going to go do? You're going to go look at your graph here. Okay. So if I go look at my graph, I'm going to show you how to do it now. Sorry, guys, my screen's just a little bit frozen. So we're showing over here. All right, so between 24 and 31, here we go. Let's carry on using purple. It's a nice color. So 24, there's 24. All right, and it comes up to there. So I've got 10. I'm just going to scribble 10 down there. Okay, and let's scribble 10 above where it's got that. So let's scribble 10 down here. So 10. Okay. And 31. So there's 31 there. So if I go up on my graph for you guys, just so you can see where I'm going, 31 takes me there. And I take it across. Okay, I get 40. So how am I going to determine the number of players? Good and Bali, I'm going to go say 40 minus 10, hey? 40 minus 10. Somebody's asking me, can stats get harder than this at grade 11 level? Nope. This is it. Okay. Stats is such a nice section. That's what I put in paper 2 for you guys. Why? Because we've got challenging subjects in paper 2. We've got trig, we've got geometry. Those are challenging. So they put stats in here to help you out. All right, well, that's not the only reason, but that's what I think the reason is because stats is to help you out, okay? All right. And in saying that, some people find stats challenging, okay? Not everyone finds stats really easy. Some people find stats challenging, so yeah. Okay, 2.1.3, okay? Complete the frequency column of the table below. So normally you have to complete the cumulative frequency. In this case, they're making you work backwards and you're having to complete the frequency now. Okay, so they're doing a little bit of a mind warp with you, all right? Because normally you have to complete the cumulative frequency, but in this case, you're completing the frequency table, okay? All right, so for my first one, okay, if my cumulative frequency was 4, it means my frequency must have been 4. Okay. Guys, we're working backwards. So my cumulative frequency was 13. So to get a cumulative frequency of 13, it means I must have said 9. 4 plus 9 gave me 13. Okay, I'm hoping this makes sense. We're working backwards. Okay. All right. If my cumulative frequency was was 37, all right, and my cumulative frequency before was 13, then we're going to say 37 minus 13 is going to give me 24. To get my frequency previously, I'm going to say 47 minus 37 gives you 10, and 50 minus 47 gives you 3. That's about how difficult they can make it. They can just try and give it in a different way. And even in an exam, again, like I said to you, you're so stressed, you're so worried because you're working yourself up about what's to come, you forget about all these easy marks. So just take a deep breath, all right? Remember your basic principles, fill in your graph. Okay. All right. Hey, ma'am, when do we need the mean of the class interval? Like 9 to 15 divided by 2? The next question. That's the next one coming up. Good question. Okay, and that's the first one coming up. All right. And Bali's saying to me, ma'am, isn't it 37 minus 9 gives you 28? So, Bali, be careful. Remember, when you're calculating your frequencies, okay, how do you do your cumulative frequency? To get your cumulative frequency, you'd say 4, okay, plus 9 gives you 13. 13 plus 24 gives you 37. 37 plus 10 gives you 47. 47 plus 3 gives you 50. Okay, be careful. You're not looking at 37 minus 9. You're looking at the difference between the cumulative frequency each time to calculate your frequency. Okay, I'm hoping that that makes sense to you. All right. Okay, if you do it the other way around, what's going to happen is your cumulative frequency is not going to work out. Okay, your cumulative frequency won't make any sense. Right. Okay, so Cassandra asked a really good question. She said, ma'am, when do we need the mean of the class intervals? Okay, so we need the mean of the class intervals for the next question, because the next question says to us, use a grid to draw the frequency polygon for the data. Now, guys, I forgot to put a grid in for myself. So what I'm just going to go and do very quickly is just get a grid and insert it in here for us into my answer sheet very quickly. Okay, let's go get that and insert it. I could draw one, but this is just so much easier here. Let's see if it'll let me do it. I'm going to save that image quickly, and I'm going to just insert it very quickly while I'm inserting it. So somebody's asking me, hey, ma'am, if they gave us only the frequency, how can you find cumulative frequency? So I'm going to show you that. Good question. Okay, so if they gave you just the frequency, how do you find cumulative frequency? So I'm going to do this for you. So if your graph had to look like this, and there was no cumulative frequency, Puleng, I'm hoping this is what you're asking me. How do you then find the cumulative frequency? Well, then what you would do is you would say, okay, the frequency is 4. How do you get cumulative frequency? Well, it's only 4 at the moment. So cumulatively, I've only added up to 4. All right. Then I've got 9. So my cumulative frequency previously was 4. 4 plus 9 gives me 13. All right. Then they gave me a frequency of 24. So cumulatively, what's happening? 13 was what I had previously, plus 24 gives me 37. Then they gave me a frequency of 10. 57 plus 10 gives me 47. And finally, 3 gives me 50. Puleng, I don't know if this will help you, but when I think of it and I like to picture things in my mind, okay? I think of cumulative frequency being like a measuring jug. Okay, so it's a measuring jug, all right? Okay, first of all, I pour in 4 milliliters because that's the frequency, 4 milliliters, all right? What's my measuring jug going to say? 4 milliliters, all right? Then I go and I throw in another 9, okay? But what's happening to my measuring jug? In my measuring jug, I had 4, I've thrown in 9, so what's happened? It's moved up to 13. So cumulatively, I've got 13 now, all right? Then I come along and I throw in another 24. So what's happened? Cumulatively, it's gone up to 37. Okay, so I hope that helps. That's the way that I think of it when I'm thinking of doing cumulative frequency. I'm always thinking of it as though it's a measuring jug. A measuring jug where I'm just filling in and filling in and filling in and filling in, all right, depending on how much liquid or whatever I am putting inside of my measuring jug. Okay, now the good news is when you write paper 2, they give you a answer sheet, or they give you a whole answer booklet now for paper 2. So fantastic, you guys don't have to actually draw your answer grids anymore. Okay, might be showing my age here, but back when I was at school, we used to have to draw these ourselves. Can you believe it? All right, they were so mean. They used to make us draw the whole grid ourselves and make sure the lines were even and all sorts. Now they give it to you guys. So we're really lucky. It cuts down a whole lot of our time. Okay, they've asked me to draw the polygon, all right, and they've given me a grid. So on the y-axis, this is going to be my frequency. Okay, on the x-axis, we're doing age of soccer players. Age of soccer players. Hopefully I've got a big enough grid. All right, I am going to hopefully have enough space to go up. So I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22. I'm going to go up in, I'm going to try go up in 2s. I'm thinking, let's try this. Okay, so I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay, I've done that. All right. Yours, if they gave you a grid, it would be more spaced out. Obviously, always good to go up in 5s. Just makes sense to do it that way. Okay. I'm going to space that a little bit more so it actually looks a bit nicer for you guys. And also I have a little bit more space, so I'm going to do that. All right, let's go back. So I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and I'm going to put 40 here. It's just off the grid. Apologies. Okay, finishing off. All right, so in order to do this polygon, all right, I need to have those midpoints. Okay, so I need to have the midpoints. I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at this table that they gave me. Okay, and I'm going to use this table from here. All right, on this table, I'm going to add here, I'm going to add a column that says midpoint. So I'm going to call it class midpoint because we had a class interval. This is going to be my class midpoint. How do you calculate the class midpoint, guys? How do you calculate the class midpoint? You guys tell me. Who knows? Who knows how to calculate the class midpoint? Anyone? All right. Okay. Anyone? No? All right. That's okay. I can talk to myself. All right. There we go. Well done. Thank you. I'm going to take the lower class. I'm going to take the upper class, and I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay. I'm going to do workings here on the side for you quickly just to show you. So for this first one, all right, over here, I would say, put in a different color. I would say, okay, 20 plus 15 divided by 2. So 20 plus 15 divided by 2 for this first one is going to give me 17,5. Okay. Right, for the next one, okay, 25 plus 20 divided by 2 gives you 22,5. 30 plus 25 divided by 2, 27,5. 35 plus 30 divided by 2, 32,5. 40 plus 35 divided by 2, 37,5. Okay. All right, Cassandra's asking me, would it not be 19 plus 5 because 20 is not included? So Cassandra, you would normally be right, okay? So you would normally be right because 19 is not included. However, all right, because we're just calculating the midpoint and it's the class midpoint, okay? We're not worried about whether it's included or not included in this case, okay? We're doing a calculation, and so for this case, we're not worried about whether it's included or not included. All right. Okay, cool. No problem. All right. So now what needs to happen, okay, is we need to go and we need to put this onto our table, hey? Okay. So let's go back to that table that we had. Okay, we're going to plot those points that we had there first. Before we go and do anything else, let's plot those points. So how do we plot those points, guys? How do we plot those points? The way that you plot those points is as follows. Before I get to that, let's go back here quickly. All right, to plot those points, we need to have an X and a Y coordinates. All right, so we need to have an X and a Y coordinates. Okay, so along my X axis was age of soccer players. Along my Y axis was frequency. So here is my Y figures, frequency, and my class midpoint is going to be my X. So in a bracket, I've got 17,5, and my Y will be 4, 22,5, and my Y will be 9, 7,5, and my Y will be 24, 32,5, and my Y will be 10, and finally 37,5, and my Y will be 3. Right. Okay, I hope you all with me. I hope you understand where I get those points from. Okay, I hope we're good. I haven't got anyone questioning me yet. All right. So let's go back. To plot it on my grid is going to be kind of tricky, but I'm going to try as best I can. Here we go. So the first point I needed to plot was 17,5 and 4. So for me, 17,5 is to 4. 17,5 is between 10 and 15. And oh, whoopsie, I forgot to go put my frequencies here. So let's go do this for you quickly. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's go put these on quickly for you. 5. Oh, apologies. In the excitement of wanting to plot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and we can go up. Okay, so I'm going to go up to 24 now. We can go up if we need it. All right, so my first point was 17,5 is to 4. Let's go see. Okay, 17,5 is to 4, so between 15 and 20 is 17,5, and I need it going up to 4. There's my first point. All right. My next point was 22,5 is to 9. So 22,5, which is about there, is to 9. So 22,5 is to 9. My next point was 27,5 is to 24. So 27,5, and we need a 24 on our graph. I'm going to go and just give us a few more lines here quickly. I'm going to draw them in for us so that we can carry on. So this is 21, 22, 23, 24. All right. So our point was Our point was 27,5 is to 24. So 27,5 is to 24. Oopsie. One more up. Was to 24. So again, make sure you don't make the mistake as me. Same mistake as I did. Make sure you've got enough points on your graph. Okay. Our next point is 32,5 is to 10. So between there and there, 32,5 is to 10. So somewhere about there. And the final point that I've got is 37,5 is to 4. So 37,5, so halfway there is to 4. Oh, I'm lying to you, is to 3. Was my last point. All right. Now, when I'm doing a polygon, I always need an anchor. So I need it to have a thing that's going to be on the ground, an anchor. Hey, where am I going to find the anchor, guys? Where am I going to find the anchor? Well, if I go back to my graph here, what did I notice? What was I going up in? 17,5, 22,5, 27,5, 37,5, 37,5. What was that going up in? What's the units going up in? What's the difference between those? My x's. What's the difference? What are they going up in? You guys tell me. They're going up in 5s. Good. Good. So my anchor is going to be the following. My anchor is going to be 12,5 is to 0. And my anchor here is going to be 42,5 is to 0. Okay. So we go back here. So I need 12,5 is to 0. So about there. And we said 42,5 is to 0. So about there. All right. This is a polygon. If it's a polygon, it means you can use your ruler to join the points. I'm going to do it freehand. You will use a ruler. But we're going to join that point to that point. That one to that one. That one to that one. This one to this one. That point to that point. And that one to that one. Okay, polygon means that you can draw it with a ruler. Where does the 12,5 come from? The 12,5 comes from, so what you do, you calculate all your midpoints. Okay, you see what was the difference between them. It was 5 each time. So to get your anchor, you're going to have 17,5 minus the 5 gives you 12,5 is to 0. And at the last one, you're going to have 37,5 plus the 5 gives you 42,5 is to 0. All right. Any other questions, guys, about this, about the polygon? Make it a bit bigger for you. Any questions about that polygon? Okay, you can use a ruler. We're going to use a ruler to join them. Okay. All right. Beautiful polygon. Look at that. Kind of like the Eiffel Tower that we're going to win tonight when we're in the rugby. Okay. 2.2. 2.2. Let's have a look at 2.2. So 2.2 says to us now, 2 grade 11 maths classes have the same number of learners. The 5 number summaries of the marks obtained by these classes for a test are shown below. What's the 5 number summary? Minimum, maximum, Q1, Q2, Q3 here. Okay. So there's the 5 number summary. The parents of the learners in class A and class B observe that both classes have the same median. All right, so the same median, right? That's our middle number, and the same maximum mark. So let's go and look at that quickly. So both classes have the same median, there they are, and they have the same maximum mark. Okay. And therefore claim that there's no differences, all right, in the performance between these classes. Do you agree with these claims? Okay. Give at least 2 different arguments to justify your answer. All right. So you would need to look at these tests. Okay. We can see Class A, they're right. They do have the same maximums. They do have the same medians. But you know that just because something has the same maximum and has the same median does not mean that the results are the same. Okay. What are other kinds of calculations that you can do? So that's what you can start playing in your head. All right. If I've got a 5-number summary, I'm going to go do the calculations here on the page for you. Okay. If you've got a 5-number summary, what have you got? You've got a minimum and you've got the maximum. If you've got minimum and maximum, what can you calculate? Tell me. What's coming to mind? Minimum, maximum, keeping it simple. What can you calculate? You can tell me in the chats. Minimum, maximum, guys. Minimum, maximum. What can you calculate? Come on. Minimum, maximum. What can you calculate? What's coming to your brain when you're hearing minimum and maximum? IQR, okay, interquartile range. Yeah, you can calculate. Thank you. You can calculate just the range. Just the range is important. Thank you. Don't worry about interquartile range. That's fancy. We're not going fancy. First, let's start with just the range. So just the range we can calculate. So range for class A. Calculate the range for class A. 90 minus 30 gives you 60. All right. The range for class B. We've got 90 minus 50 gives you 40. All right, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means that the range of class A is a lot higher or bigger, than the range of class B. Therefore, that means that the marks in class A, okay, are a lot more spread out than class B. So it means that in class A, people got more of a variety of marks. All right, they went from 30 all the way to 90, compared to class B, where the range was only 40. So people's marks only went from 50 to 90. Okay, so that's one way where we say that the claim is not valid. That's one argument that we're using. The claim is not valid. So that's one way you can say, okay? The next thing that we can say is, all right, the next thing we can say is the following. Okay, if we go and we look at not the minimum, but we look at Q1 in this case. What's Q1 equal to for each of these these classes? Here's Q1 over here, hey? Q1. All right, okay. So even if we're looking at just 25% of the class, so we've looked at the range, first of all, and the range of the class. Even if we're looking at 25% then of the class, what can we see about class A and class B? We can see that at least 25% of class B received higher marks than class A. So already looking at least even 25% of class B, we can see that they've done better than class A in the test. Okay, Cassandra's asking, does that mean class B got higher marks? It means that class B, they got a higher, they got more students in their class received higher marks. Yes. Okay. All right. So what can we say here? We can say Q1 class A, equals 48. Q1 class B got 58. Therefore, okay, 25% of class B received higher marks. All right. Okay. When we get to 50%, we see that the class started receiving pretty much the same amounts, because 50% of the class then received 65 and above. But up to 25% of the class, okay, up to 25% of the class B was getting higher marks than class A. Okay, that takes us to the end of stats. That takes us to the end of stats, guys. That takes us to the end of stats. Right, let's go. We now are going to move on. Okay, let's go do some analytical. So in the diagram below, we've got A, we've got B, we've got C, and they're vertices of triangle ABC. M is the midpoint of line AB. N is 0.2 is to 1, and it's a point such that MN is, those two little lines mean parallel. BC is produced to meet x at E, which is -8 is to 0. Okay, they've given you all this information. It's all on the graph, all right? What I would suggest is go and make sure you understand it all. When I'm doing geometry, shout out here for geometry, I always like to highlight my parallel lines. I teach students to highlight their parallel lines from the time they're in grade 8 all the way from the time they're in matric, okay? If I ever teach a matric class with you guys next year, when you're matric, you'll see I always highlight parallel lines first thing I do in any example. Why does parallel lines help me? Okay, because now I'm looking at this, I've got a triangle, I've got parallel lines, I've got some equal points here. All right, okay, so let's go see what kind of questions they're going to ask me to give them. Okay. 3.1, determine the coordinates of M, which is the midpoint of A, B. They're asking me for midpoint. They're making it pretty easy for me. They should give me a formula sheet, especially for this paper. Okay, so they should give me a formula sheet, especially for this paper. I'm going to give you a dual page display. I will make it a bit bigger just now for you. I just want to get the actual question. So if I'm looking at this, okay, if I'm looking at this, I need the midpoint formula, guys. Remember your midpoint formula. Good to know your formulas off the heart, and the more and more and more you practice, the better you're going to get at formulas. So make sure that you practice all your formulas. So 3.1, to get your midpoint formula, M is the point, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay. I'm going to go right at the coordinates that I need here on my page. So I need the coordinates. So here's M. Okay, I need coordinate B. All right, so I'm going to go put them down here. B is the point, 3 is to 1, and I need the coordinates A. A is the point, 9 is to -1. That is the midpoint that I am looking for. Okay, so you'll notice whenever I do these kind of questions, especially analytical, I like to have my point written out for myself so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to make point A my x, y1, and point B are going to be my 2's. Okay, you don't lose marks for writing it down on the page. You can see it now. It makes it a lot clearer when you're in the exam. Remember, your brain starts doing weird stuff. So there it is. I'm going to have M is the point. X1 is 3 plus X2 is 9 over 2. Y1 is 11 plus Y2 is -1 over 2. So M is going to be the point. 6 is to 5. Okay, nice, easy, straight out the gate, midpoint formula. All right, first one that you learn when you're in grade 10, 6 is to 5. Okay. We're going back here. Let's fill them in. So this was the point. Okay. 6 is to 5. Right. Determine the gradient of line MN. So now they want the gradient of line MN again. All right. I like writing my points out when I'm doing this. Up to you how you like to do it. Okay. I like having my points written out. I'm going to go back to a dual page display here quickly. All right. So 3.2. All right. I need to know M, which was the point 6 is to 5. N, which was the point 2 is to 1. Okay, they want gradients. Oh, they're so kind to ask me for gradients, because gradients is one that I've been doing since grade 9, or maybe grade 8 for some of you, but grade 9. So gradients, M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, I go label my points in an exam because, again, I get stressed out. All right, so I've got 1 minus 5 over 2 minus 6. Okay. Did I have the right calculations here, guys? Let's just go double check that I had the right ones. 2 and 1, 6 and 5, mn. Yeah, right ones. Did I have the right calculation? Apologies. Just doubting myself. You know when you doubt yourself, it's terrible, hey? Yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, continuing. All right, so what did you get? What did you get for the gradients? What do you get, guys? 1, good. All right, so you get -4 over -4, which gives you 1. All right. Then 3.3. Okay, 3.3. Right, 3.3 says to me, hence or otherwise, okay, find the equation of the line mn in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So now they want the equation of the line mn, and they want it in the form y is equal to mx plus c. Again, something you've been doing since you were in grade 9. Depending on which formula you like to use is the one that you can do, okay? So I quite like always using y is equal to mx plus c. It's the one I'm used to, so it's the one I like to do. I'm going to use n as the point that I substitute in, all right? So n, instead of seeing y, I'm going to see a 1 equals m was 1, x was 2, plus c. So 1 equals 2 plus c equals -1. Therefore, y is equal to x minus 1. Okay, nice and easy. Marks for nothing. These are all level 1, level 1, level 1, level 1, level 1 marks. All easy ones. All right, get these easy ones. Okay. Noku's asking me to please repeat. Sure, Noku, I just took my formula, which is y is equal to mx plus c. Okay. I substituted in this point. I substituted in n. So instead of seeing y, I saw 1. Instead of seeing x, I saw 2. And for my m, I used 1. So I've got 1 equals 1, open brackets 2, plus c. Substitute in, calculate my c. C gave me -1. So y is equal to x minus 1. All right. Can you sub in any of the 2 points? Sure, you can sub an m or you can sub an n. The reason why I'm subbing an n is because n is the one they gave me. It's not the one that I had to calculate. So I'm super confident. I know I got the right answer, all those good things, okay? But you never know. You never know. Something's gone wrong, whatever. You'll still get marks, guys. You'll get method marks, okay? It's not like you're not going to get marks. You'll get method marks. However, rather use the one that they gave you rather than your points, okay? All right, 3.4. Let's look at 3.4. 3.4 says, give a reason why n is the midpoint of C. So they're telling you, they are telling you that n is the midpoint of C. Guys, just now I started off by saying to you, look, I've got a triangle. Two of the lines are parallel. The one line, okay, it's splitting that triangle to become a midpoint. Is this looking familiar in something you learned in geometry this year? What happens if I take this triangle and turn it upside down? What would I have? I'd have a triangle with 2 parallel lines, and one of the pair of the sides have a equal. They split. They've got a midpoint. So therefore, what do we know about n? Okay, what do we know about n? N is going to be the midpoint of a C. Can you see how they're throwing this in here? They're throwing in a bit of geometry into analytical. So we can say here, n is midpoint of C, line through midpoints, line through midpoints of one side to a second side. That's one of the ways that you can summarize it. If your teachers have taught you a different way to summarize it, that's fine. If they've said to you it's called midpoint theorem, that's fine. If they've said to you it's called converse or whatever you call it, put it in there. All right. Because you're going to get a mark for identifying, hold up, this has to do with midpoints and triangles and the line and the whatever. You're going to get a mark for it. Okay. All right. B says to us, hence. Okay, so hence, find the coordinates of C. Hence, find the coordinates of C. All right. So hence, all right. What are the coordinates of C? Okay, let's look at C. Oh, my goodness. All right. So here we go. Here's my drawing back. Okay. All right, here's C. Here's C. They've just told me that N, all right, is the midpoint, all right, of this line. So it means that 1, 2, 3, this is equal to 1, 2, 3. So this is the midpoint. So can I use the opposite of the midpoint theorem? Can I go backwards? Can I go backwards here? All right. So in other words, I would say the following. Okay, in other words, I would say the following. I would say, let me do this. I'm going to say N. To get N, I would have said x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Because N is the midpoint. We've just said it's the middle. It's cutting it in the middle. It's the midpoint. Okay. So I would have used that to get N. Okay. But now we already know what N is. All right. We already know N. Okay. I'm going to keep him here for now. I'm going to keep saying N. All right. We've got 2 points. We've got C. We've got A. C is x is to y. A is 9 is to -1. So let's go put it in here. So I said to you earlier on, I like to write it on the side. So I'm going to go do that for you. So I've got, so my 2 points. The one was 9 is to -1. And the other 1 point was x is to y. Right. So if I'm subbing those in, I'm going to have x, because that's my x, plus 9 over 2, y plus -1 over 2. Do I already know what n's points are, guys? Did they already give me n's points? They did. So I know that this result, this here, x plus 9 over 2 is going to be equal to 2. Because n is the point, 2 is to 1, hey? And I already know that this over here, y minus 1 over 2, is going to be equal to 1. So I go and calculate that, right? I get x plus 9 equals 4, x equals -5, and this side, I get y minus 1 equals 2, y equals 3. So therefore, C is the point, -5 is to 3. Okay, we're doing the opposite. We're doing the opposite here. All right. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope you've got that. If you see this question in the exam, be so thankful. This is such a nice question to get in the exam. So many nice marks here. All right, it's a really great one. Cool. Moving on. My next question says 3.5. If ABCD is a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of point D. Guys, I'm going to teach you a way to try and see if we can cheat this. Let's see. If ABCD is a parallelogram, so they're saying if A, B, C, and now they're bringing in this point D. I'm going to go do it in red. So they're bringing in point D. They're making a point. D. Here he is, point D. If A, B, C, D is a parallelogram, all right? What are the coordinates of D, they're saying? Okay. I've just calculated that C was the point, -5 is to 3. Okay. All right, they now want me to calculate coordinates of D. Again, all right, this one you've been doing since you were in grade 9. Now, there's ways that you can go calculate and you can show your workings, and they never ask you to show your workings. They just ask you to give the point for D, right? Do you agree? Okay. How can you do that? I'm going to show you a way to do that. That's quick and easy. This is a parallelogram, which means that you can use translation here to your advantage. Remember back in the day when we did translation, back in like grade 8 and grade 9, and you're like, when are we ever going to use that? We're going to use it today, right? To get from this point B to this point, so to get from, to use my magic pen, to get from, okay, B to C, okay, what did I do to my x coordinates to get, so from B to C, guys, okay, it's from B to C. What did you do to the x's? How do you go from 3 to get to 5, to get to -5? To go from 3 to -5, what do? We minus 8, hey? So you're going to do the exact same thing down here. To get from A to get to D, what are you going to do to the x's? You're going to subtract 8. So you're going to go say 9 minus 8 gives me 1. Okay, we're translating. That's all we're doing here. All right. What do you do? What do you do to get from 11 to 3? What do you do to get from 11 to 3? You did the same thing. You also minus 8. So -1 minus 8. -1 minus 8 gives me -9. Done. Quick and easy. Done. Quick and easy. Look how many marks it's for. It's for 4 marks. It's for 4 marks. It didn't ask you for any workings. D is the point 1 is to -9. 4 marks for nothing. I just taught you how to cheat that. It's not a cheat. It's not even a cheat. That's maths. You just did maths. You applied translations, which you did in grade 8 and grade 9. You applied that to grade 11 maths. Okay, that's why we taught it to you in grade 8 and grade 9. Okay, so that you could do this today. All right, I hope you learned something new. Okay, ma'am, could you repeat? Of course I can repeat it. Of course, let's go back. So the first thing you want to do when you get a question like this is you want to go draw your point D in. Okay, so step 1 is to draw point D in. Go draw it. All right, so you saw I drew point D in. Whoopsie. You saw I drew point D in. You would have noticed, okay, I all the way along the way draw in my steps. So if they ask me to calculate M, I wrote in M. If they ask me to put in C, I put in C. Okay. Now I say to myself, it's a parallelogram, which means that I can use translation. So I'm looking at what did I do to get from point B to get to point C? All right. Looking at the x's first. To get from 3 to -5, what do I do? To get from 3 to -5, I subtract 8. So I can do the same thing down here. 9 minus 8. 9 minus 8 gives me 1. Okay, I do the same thing with the y's. What did I do to get from 11 to 3? I minused 8. -1 minus 8 gives me -9. Could you do it in a different way and get the same answers? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you to do it in a different way to prove that you get the same answers. Okay? Let me prove it to you that you can get the same answer. Right. Let's look at the difference between point B and point A. What did you do to 3 to get it to 9? 3 plus 6. So -5 plus 6 gives you, ding, 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 ding. It gives you 1, guys. Okay. What do you do to 11 to get it to -1? You subtract 12. 3 minus 12 gives you, shocker, -9. I love maths. I love maths. I'm so glad we taught you translations in grade 8 and grade 9. It means you can do this question. You can get 4 marks doing in 1 minute work. You can save yourself some time. Okay, so you can pick up time here that you can then spend on geometry later on. Okay, tell us in the chat. No working out on the answer. You don't have to show your working out. Does it say there? Show working out. No, you will get full marks. You will get full marks just by putting the answer down. Full marks. Full marks. Nowhere in that question does it say show all your working. Nope. Full marks for putting that down. Full marks. If you've learned something new, give us a thumbs up, okay? If you've learned something new, give us a thumbs up so Mr. Hugo and I know we've taught you guys something new today, please. All right, if you already knew it and you needed to practice it, I'm glad that we got to practice it here. Awesome, awesome, guys. I'm glad that we learned something new. Okay. All right, 3.6, determine the size of beta. 3.6, determine the size of beta. Okay, so we need to go calculate the size of beta. Ugh, guys, beta's in such a weird place. Beta's over here. There's beta. Okay. Alpha's over there. Beta's over there. All right, what size is this angle? That's 90 degrees. Okay. Alpha's over there. Beta's over there. That's 90 degrees. What did they make us calculate earlier on? Let's just go do some workings here. Think about stuff that they've asked us already. They asked us to do the gradient of line N. Okay. We know that these two lines are parallel. So do we know what the gradient of line BC is, guys? Yes, we do. Okay, we know what the gradient of line BC is. So let's go state some stuff here. We know that the gradient of BC will be equal to 1. Why do we know that? Because BC is parallel to N. Okay, earlier on we calculated that NN was equal to 1. If the lines are parallel, it means that the gradients are equal. So the gradient of BC equals 1. All right, now this year we learned about tan theta equals gradient. Hey, remember that? Okay, so this year we learned tan theta equals gradient. So we can go say that the tan of theta is going to be equal to the gradient of BC. So the tan of theta is going to be equal to 1. All right. So on your calculators, shift function tan 1 equals, you're going to get 45 degrees. Okay, so let's go here. This is 45 degrees. This is 9 degrees. So what do we know about this? This is also going to be 45 degrees. What a nice one. What a nice question for tan theta. So we know, therefore, theta, okay, will be equal to 180 minus 90 minus 45 degrees. Reason, angle, sum, triangle, or angles in the triangle, or whatever, however you say it at your school. Either way, fine. Therefore, beta equals 45 degrees. Okay, nice and easy. All right, last one for this one. Last one. It says, calculate the area of triangle FOE. So, triangle FOE. Okay, right? If we need the area of a triangle, half base times height, hey? The base of this triangle goes from 0 to -8, so this is 8 units. The height of this triangle goes from 0 to 8, so this is 8 units. All right. Tandalwetu is asking me, why is tan theta equal to the gradient of BC? So Tandalwetu, this year you would have learned that in analytical geometry in grade 11. Maybe you haven't learned it yet in class, but when you do trigonometry, and we did it back when I did the workshop for grade 11 in June, we spoke about shade your rear, cos x-rays, tan your exterior. So your y over x. How do you calculate gradient? Gradient is calculated by y over x. Therefore, tan is the same as gradient, because to get tan, it's y over x. To calculate gradient, it's y over x. But instead of explaining all of that, we just can say tan theta, the tan of an angle, is equal to the gradient of that line. All right, I hope that that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay, we did do it. Go back. If you signed up for our bootcamp in June, you should have access to that video. And I went through it really, really in detail when we did it in June. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go do this triangle quickly. So area of the triangle equals half the base times the height. So half 8 times 8, which equals 32 units squared. Okay, I cannot believe that we only have 5 minutes left. Guys, we have 5 minutes. Mr. Hugo, can you believe that it's 5 minutes left? I cannot. It's
Time
just crazy.
flew. I've been so busy also. The time flew. I cannot believe it.
Crazy, crazy. Okay, we're going to try and fit in this one last question, guys. We're going to try fit in as much of this one last question, okay, as we can, and then we will answer any questions you might have. Cassandra's asking, hey, ma'am, when we start the exam, should we start with the more difficult sections or the easier sections? Cassandra, I would suggest start at question 1. Start at question 1, especially for paper 2. You know why? You get given an answer booklet. So that means, again, okay, if it says 1 mark, you spend 1 minute. If it says 5 marks, you spend 5 minutes, okay? If you're taking longer than what you think you're taking, you move on. That's my suggestion. However, okay, if you feel more confident starting with trig, because trig's your jam, and trig's the thing that gets your confidence up, then go start with trig. Or if you feel more confident starting with geometry, and geometry is the thing where you get all your marks, start with geometry. I always suggest start with the thing that gets your confidence up first. The reason why we put stats first, okay, and data handling is because most people find that really easy. And so that gets your confidence up. So you get your confidence up, you feel confident, I can do this. All right, you do that section, you get through it, and you manage to get yourself more time. That way you don't lose out on those easy marks. Because what normally happens is you guys think, oh my goodness, this is so hard, I need to spend so much longer on it, and you don't get time to come back to the more easy questions, and then you lose out on all your marks. So I always say, start with the section that you get your confidence up. Start with the section that you get your confidence up with. All right. Okay, so I'm getting a few questions, so I'm just going to go back and so that people can screenshot quickly. If you want to ask me any more questions in the chat, let's do that quickly while people are screenshotting. All right, anybody else that wants to ask me a question in the chat? Just while I'm going back to 3.7 again. No one. Okay, guys, we're going to go try to do 4.1 very quickly with you. Okay, so we're going to try to go do 4.1. All right, let's go have a look. So question 4 is some trig. If sine 23 degrees equals P without using a calculator, okay, express the following in terms of P, tan of 23 degrees. So first thing you want to do, you want to draw yourself a little drawing. All right, so sine of 23 degrees equals P. I like to put it on a Cartesian plane. When I did it for you in the memo though, I put it in a triangle because some people like a triangle better. Any way you want to do it, it's fine. All right. So you guys would have remembered from June, if you were here in June, I like to use the shade your rear cos x rays tan your exterior. I've got sine of 23 degrees. So sine is shade your rear, hey? Which means that so far I've got y is equal to p and r will be equal to 1. What's missing? What's missing is what we need to ask ourselves. Okay, I go draw my arm out here. I drop a little dotted line to help me. Okay, I tell myself here. All right, so I'm going to have coordinates. I don't know what x is yet. I know that y is p. All right, I know that r is equal to 1. Okay, and now I go calculate the thing that's missing. What's missing? I'm missing x. Okay, so r squared equals y squared, x squared plus y squared. Reason? Pythag. Okay, so to get x squared, I must say r squared minus p squared. Okay. Therefore, x will be equal to the square root. Oopsie, I forgot to replace r. What am I doing? Going too quickly. R was equal to 1, guys. Will be equal to the square root of 1 minus p squared. So here, this is the square root of 1 minus p squared. Okay. All right, you can do that in a triangle. That's cool. I've done it in a triangle for you in the memo, so that's where that will be. So now, if I want the tan of 23 degrees, I tell myself, shade your rear cos x rays tan your exterior here. So your was the same thing as saying p over, we just calculated x as being 1 minus p squared. Done. Okay. Then that's 4.1.1. 4.1.2, we've got sine of 113 now. So, oh, that's a problem because we're dealing with 23 degrees, not this big number. So we're going to change this and we're going to make this sine of 90 degrees plus 23 degrees. Guys, whenever you have sine 90, or you have cos 90, what happens? Sine is going to change. What's sine going to change to? Tell us in the chat so we know you're still here. We're not talking to ourselves. When you have sine 90, what does it become? Sine 90, what is sine 90? What does it become, guys? Cos, thank you. It's going to become cos, okay? Cos of 23 degrees, okay? And what do we know about cos? Shade your rear, cos x rays. X was square root 1 minus p squared over 1, which is the same thing as saying 1 minus p squared. Okay. All right. So what are you going to do now? You are going to take this exam paper. I cannot believe that an hour and a half went so quick. You're going to take this exam paper. You're going to do all the questions, all of them. You're going to try without the memo. You're going to do all the questions in the exam paper, grade 11s.